software. This is a topic of interest for millions of people around the world and has been the main source of income for many people.
Tell them to bring me my money.
And although the main way people want to make money through software is through working at a big company like Google, Facebook, or even just like a startup, there is another avenue that people have been taking lately. And the thing I'm talking about is side hustles and selling your own software. And honestly, all throughout my Twitter page and YouTube page now is all of these people that are like making a lot of money online selling software and then living in like Bali or Thailand. And you know, if your goal is to like be your own boss, have some freedom, I feel like that side hustle route might be a lot better than working at another company. We all want to give the boss that big old thumbs up. Not this one, the other one I'm talking about.
What do you mean by that?
Now, jokes aside, I think it would be cool to make money from your own software. Like you're literally making money on your own, doing what you want when you want. And I just want to show you how I plan on getting rich as a developer. This does not mean I'm going to be rich. This does not mean this thing is perfect. I'm just going to lay out everything just off of my own experiences, from the money I've made from selling software in the past, and just my own idea of things. So we know that you need a business or a side hustle to make money. And at the source of any good side hustle or business is the idea. And in the case right now, the thing I plan to build and I've already built in a simple way is a soccer match winner predictor. This is an idea that took me about a day to develop, and we'll get into the development process in a bit. But the whole point of the application was to correctly predict through a specific type of algorithm the correct score of a soccer game. But that's simple, right? Anyone can just think of an idea. You probably have an idea. I have an idea. Once you have your idea, the next thing is to validate your idea. And honestly, what a lot of entrepreneurs and developers do, they have their idea, they build it, spend 8-9 months on the application, and then pray to God that people like it. You've definitely done it. But a better way to do it is to, once you have your idea, to validate your idea by asking people your questions, showing people the idea, maybe making a prototype, and just asking around to see who's interested in the product. And honestly, what I did, I just made a video on how I built the soccer predictor, and a ton of you commented and said, this is really interesting, this is a really cool idea. And that gave me enough leeway and enough knowledge to say, hey, I can actually go deeper into this. There is some interest. Maybe there is a business viability there. And I think the main thing to ask yourself here, and what I've been trying to ask myself, when exposed to the market, when you ask people these questions, when you show people your product or the idea of the product, how do they react to it? Is it, oh, it's round, or is it, wow, this is super cool? And I think once you know that, then you should start going into the next process, planning out your software. You see, once I had my idea of the soccer predictor and I got some validation from the market, I had to really ask myself, who is this product for? Who are my competitors and who's building something like this? And what are the features that I want to include in the software to make it as good as possible? And I think by clarifying this and just understanding at a deeper level what we need to build, who we're building it for, if it's been built before, you put yourself in a position to build the right products and not waste time on unnecessary features. So many of us do. And so for the soccer predictor, the main person this is for is people who watch soccer, right? The main competitors here, I'm guessing, is just other people's software. Like I saw other things online where people made similar products. It wasn't as good marketed, like it was pretty shitty, and it was, how do I say, not good. And the final thing I did was just write down the features that I wanted to build. Typically, you want to have just one feature because then you'll just be overwhelmed with a ton of things. And plus, the development process is a lot quicker when you do this. And so the features I wrote down as the main feature, you know, not including authentication and payment, is just a page where people put in the two teams that they want to see who's going to win. They click predict, is outputted the team that's going to win. And so right now we're in a position where we've done a lot of theory. We've talked to a couple of people. We've maybe built out an MVP or a shitty product, you might say. The next thing we got to do is actually programming the application. And so the things to take into consideration here is firstly to make sure that your product is user friendly. I feel like a lot of the software that fails, especially my own software, is due to the fact that it's not user friendly enough.
Brother, what's that?
And I don't give a fuck what backend developers say. If your product does not have a good UI, which should be your absolute focus for a lot of your software, then even though it's a good piece of software, the user cannot use it because they may have been confused. They might be too overwhelmed with how the UI looks, and they won't use the product to its best abilities. And by making it user-friendly, aka just making it super simple, making sure that it's just as easy as possible for the user to use, you put yourself in a much better position. And so user-friendly UI for me would just be literally one page, clear call to actions, clear button to generate the match score predictor. And then the next part of the development process is listening to user feedback. And obviously this is assuming that you may have coded an MVP or you made like a bad version of this thing and it's kind of already public or people are kind of already using it. But whenever possible, there will be times where the user will send you their feedback. Like they'll say, hey, this doesn't work. Dude, this is a really cool product. Listen to that feedback. That's very valuable because that person might be the ideal customer for you. And that person is probably experiencing and has the same needs as everyone. And so don't take that with a grain of salt. Literally just use it as much as possible. Use user feedback as much as you can. And now the third part of the building SaaS, which I honestly realized that I should have put first, is picking the tech stack. And the best piece of advice that you can get here is that no one cares about your tech stack. The user does not give a fuck about what tech stack you're using. Pick whatever you are comfortable with. I personally use Next.js, Prisma ORM, Postgres database, and then Tailwind CSS. And obviously, depending on the application you're building, you might want to pick a specific type of database. But even then, it doesn't really matter if you're not developing for like hundreds of millions of people. You know what I mean? And so just have that mindset where no one cares about the tech stack. Just make sure that you're building good user UI, the functionalities obviously work, and that you have a good tech stack to use. And now the final aspect of developing your $1 million startup is the sales and the marketing. These two are the kryptonite of a developer.
I got scared. I dropped my hot pocket.
I feel like all of us just want to just code and then go into our little dungeon to hide. But obviously, if you don't have sales and marketing, how can you get paying customers and how can you get people into your application in the first place? And so the first thing you want to do is obviously market your product. And unless you're a millionaire and you can pay for advertisements and you can pay a lot of money to get your application seen on the web, the single best thing you can do is simple organic marketing. And by that, I mean content. And although this is a slower process, you will gain a good following the more you talk about it, the more content you make, and the more you show off your product. Like I see a lot of developers on Instagram who make specific pages just for their product, and they're literally just posting content about using the product. For example, it's like a short video on someone using like a meditation app. And now in terms of the sales, that's the process of getting someone to buy your product. It's mostly done through the marketing. Like once they are able to land on your application, if you have a good UI and you did everything and you have a clear way for the person to buy that item, then you're gold. And so this is the process that I'm following for the soccer predictor. Will it go well? I don't know. By the end of this video, I'll kind of know whether or not this idea is good enough. But yeah, follow this process for your app and I promise you, you'll at least be in a better position than you were earlier. But yeah, if you like the video, happy coding, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.